Before we begin, I do have one brief announcement. Kellogg, east of 275, there's something on the roadway there. It's the Ohio River. Thank you. That means I've got a friendly crowd because you're listeners, and we appreciate that. If I seem a little nervous, it's because, well, basically I'm used to talking to a lot of people, but I'm not used to them looking back at me, so forgive me. The theme today is curiosity, and I'll be honest, if you're going to be a reporter, you have to be curious. I didn't start out wanting to be a reporter. I always knew I wanted to be in broadcasting. My father was working in a small-town TV station in western Nebraska, and he let me run around the halls there all the time, so I got to see all the behind-the-scenes stuff, and I thought, this is kind of cool. And I got to see all the behind-the-scenes stuff that wasn't so cool. And one day I got a tour of a radio station, and I thought, yeah, this is it. This is cool. You get to sit in a room by yourself, play music. I wanted to be a disc jockey. And so I went about becoming a disc jockey the most bass-ackward way possible. I went to a small liberal arts private college, which costs a lot of money, put me in debt for a very long time. And you don't really need a degree to be a disc jockey. But I went anyway, and it was probably for the best because it gave me a little more well-rounded education. I didn't want to be a reporter. I didn't pay attention to the journalism classes because I wanted to be the morning wake-up guy. Hey, how you doing? And so I finally got a job at Sunny 108, KSYZ, Grand Island, Hastings, Kearney. After college, I moved to Lincoln, where I worked for 92.9, the Eagle KTGL, Lincoln, Beatrice, Lincoln's classic rock. Found myself at Hits 106, KQKY, 105.9, Kearney, Grand Island, Hastings. And while it was there, we had a sister station in the AM News Talk. One night, about midnight, I'm getting off my disc jockey shift, which was starting to become a little repetitive. Every night it was, hey, coming up, we're going to play a song. After that, you're going to hear another song. We just heard 4 songs in a row, commercial-free. Tune in tomorrow afternoon for an entire hour of commercial-free music. That wasn't really challenging me, or I wasn't able to rise to the challenge to let it challenge me. Well, anyway, one night about midnight, I'm getting off my shift, and I walk past the newsroom, and they've got a police scanner in there, and I hear familiar tones. Trailer fire, Smithville Trailer Park, trailer fully engulfed. I think, wow, you know what? Instead of calling the news director and getting his butt out of bed at midnight, I'll just grab the gear, I'll go there, I'll interview the fire chief. I'll probably be the first one there. It's going to be awesome. And so I get in the station car, I race that way, I follow the fire trucks in, I can see flames shooting 30 feet in the air. And it's all very dramatic, it's all very exciting. And I hate to tell this next part of the story because it's not flattering. I get out of the car, I'm watching the fire, watching the firefighters put out the fire, and I see this woman standing off to the side crying. So I get the microphone, I get the recorder, and I go over to her and I say, is this your home? And she says, yes. It's my home, everything I've lost. And I said, how do you feel? Yeah, that's not something you ask someone who is losing all of their possessions. So I learned the hard way how to do news and how not to do news. The next morning, the news director called me in, the station manager called me in. They said, so you want to do more news? I said, yeah, let's give it a try. They said, okay, we'll give you a shot. And I was hooked. Pretty soon I'm chasing every wreck, every fire, every bank robbery. Eventually I get a job at another small town radio station as news director. First full-time radio job ever, and so excited. And I'm there for 2.5, 3 years. Move on to the next city, a little bigger, Omaha. WOW. That's where I learned to say my W's properly. And from there up to Sioux City, Iowa, KMNS 620. And from there, eventually got married, moved to Dayton, where I worked at WHIO 1290. And then 700 WLW. And then where I am now, 91.7 WVXU, 88.5 WMUB, connecting you to a world of ideas. But I never, thank you. Don't, because I'm going to expect that from now on. I have to get some kind of app on my phone. I never wanted to be a reporter, but here I am, and it's curious to me as to why I enjoy it so much. You can do the spot news, we call it, the breaking news. You can chase the fire trucks, you can chase the ambulances, you can get the phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning that, oh, there may be a shooting somewhere, can you go? Let me wake up and I'll call you back for directions. And that gets old after a while. And eventually you start finding yourself, hey, you know, the legislature is doing something kind of interesting. Or this story looks like it should be more than 30 seconds long. But I don't have time to do that in one format, so I go over to public radio, where I am now, where I can take 4 minutes to tell an entire story. And I love it. Why do I love it? I'm not quite sure. I was talking this morning, and I think part of it is being able to see things that other people don't always get to see. Sometimes that's bad, like crashes on the interstate. Everyone slows down to see it. Sometimes I get to stand right there and watch it. But like yesterday, the Mill Creek pump station. Anyone heard of it? Well, yeah, now you heard me talking about it this morning. I heard about it about a week ago and thought, hey, you know what? Talking about floods, this sounds like an interesting story. So I called wastewater or the stormwater management folks up and said, hey, can I come out and get a tour? And they said, yeah. So I went out yesterday, turned that into a nice story this morning. And if you didn't hear it, you can still find it at wvxu.org. Please, I need the clicks. But I get to see things that not everyone gets to see, and that's fascinating for me. I enjoy that. I enjoy being able to tell people and show people some of these things that not everyone can experience. Not everyone can go walk through the Union Terminal as they're reconfiguring it, as they're rehabilitating it. Every now and then I get to do stuff like that, so it's really kind of neat. But since I did not start out wanting to be a reporter, a couple of things, when I still wanted to be a DJ, stuck with me, and they stick with me to this day. A movie, old movie with Humphrey Bogart called Deadline USA. Anyone seen it? No one's seen it. It's a great movie, though. Without giving you the plot, because I don't want to give it away, because you're going to want to go find it. Jim Backus, as you may know as Mr. Howell from Gilligan's Island, has this great line. And he says, do you want to be a reporter or do you want to be a journalist? Well, what's the difference? Reporter tells a story. Journalist tells a story, makes himself the hero of it. And I heard that, I really took that to heart. And so today, when someone, and I get this asked a lot, what do you think about X? What do you think about the soccer stadium? What do you think about the streetcar? What do you think about abortion? What do you think about gun rights? 99% of the time, when I get asked a question like that, well, every time I get asked that, I say, I don't know. What do you think? 99% of the time, people don't care what I think. They want to tell me what they think. And that's fine, that's cool, because I'm not going to tell you what I think. That 1% where people do really want to know what I think, tough, you're not going to find out. And it's important to me that you don't know what I think, because it's not about me. I may be telling a story, but I'm not the hero of the story. It's not about me. The story is not from my viewpoint. The story is what the story is. I'm just the conduit. and I'm trying very hard not to color it, not to shape it, other than what it is. And, excuse me, I don't know if other reporters feel this way. I mean, I talk to some other reporters, and I can tell, I get a sense of where they're coming from. I see people in the field retweeting certain viewpoints over and over and over again. It's like, yeah, I know where you're standing on this issue. And I don't like to do that. I don't want you to know what I feel about a certain issue. I don't want you to know what my opinion is, because it's not about me. And because if you know what I think about a certain issue, let's say the FC Cincinnati Stadium. If you know what I think about it, and if you don't agree with my viewpoint, everything I say on that, you're going to think is influenced by my opinion. You're going to assume that I'm just saying that because I come from here. If I don't like the stadium and I report some bad news about it, more than likely you're going to say, oh, you're only saying that because you don't like it. If I do like the stadium and say good news about it, and you don't like it, well, you're going to assume I'm only going to give you rose-colored glasses picture of whatever the issue. So it's not about me, it's about you. And every now and then I'll get asked, and maybe someone here will ask me, what do you think we should do about, in this era of fake news and partisan politics and partisan reporting? I don't know. What do you think we should do about it? I don't have an opinion. It's not up to me. It's up to you, the audience. I'm not here to persuade you to do anything. I'm not even here to persuade you to believe what I'm saying. I'm only here to give you facts. If you don't like those facts, that's your problem. It's not up to me. If you do like those facts, great. Let's keep going. Keep listening. I'm only here to give you facts. Do we want to go with questions? Because I'm running out of material, unless you want to hear some weird stories, like the flying ostrich.
Sure.
Everyone loves the flying ostrich. So the first full-time job in radio in Nebraska, little town of Hastings, K-H-A-S. If you pronounce that, it's K-H-A-S. We had a tornado watch, and I looked at the radar, and I saw the storms coming in. I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to go tornado chasing. This was not unusual. This was a regular thing. And I pull outside of town. I find this nice spot overlooking what passes as a valley in Nebraska. And pretty soon, here come the storms. Boom, I get very lucky. Just off to about a mile and a half to my southeast, see the funnel cloud come down, touches down, full-on tornado. This was 98, so I didn't have a video camera, didn't have a phone camera, didn't have any camera. All I had was a bag phone plugged into the dashboard of the car. Yes. So I dial up on that, call back to the station, get me on the air, there's a tornado, we gotta tell everybody. No one's really listening, but we gotta tell everybody. So for about the next hour, I'm doing play-by-play on this tornado as it goes across the landscape, very slowly. The bottom of it goes behind a hill, so I can't really see what it's doing. You can still see the spout up here. Suddenly there's a lot of debris in the air. It's like, okay, I can tell you it hit something. I know that. Tornado moves on, crosses a highway, comes to a little town, lifts up over the grain elevator, and I swear it goes over the grain elevator and comes back down on the other side, completely misses the town. That's just weird. Tornado ends, I drive to about where I saw the debris coming from, and it's a farm. It doesn't seem to be too badly damaged. There's a great big old farmhouse. It is off the foundation. It's just like someone went like that. A giant reached down and twisted it off the foundation. It's still upright. There's a barn that seems to be destroyed. There's debris everywhere. And turns out it's an ostrich farm. Some of that debris I saw was likely ostriches. It's a little sick, but stay with me. Think about it. Yeah, I don't like it. I want down. That's the flying ostrich story. So, questions? Anyone? Please.
I'll ask one. I really liked your distinction between reporter and journalist. I'm trying to be more of a reporter and less of a journalist, but I'm just curious, like, what's the craziest interview you've ever done? Like, you know, when you do an interview, you come in with
Crispin
questions.
Glover.
Yes! You got to interview him.
We could call it an interview. If you remember, he was in Back to the Future. He was here a few years ago for the Cincinnati Film Festival, promoting a series of films he's made. And I got the opportunity to interview him. We set up a room, we set up cameras. And I'm a radio guy, so I really don't do a whole lot of work with cameras, but we're faking it. And we sit down, I start the interview. 30 seconds into it, he says, "Oh, wait a second." Pulls out his phone and just starts texting someone. No explanation to me. I just sat there and waited for him to finish. And he finally does, puts it away, picks up right where he left off. Yeah, that wasn't weird at all.
I saw him at Harry Dean Stanton Fest a few years ago.
At where?
Harry Dean Stanton Fest, they do it in Lexington. And I also remember, I don't know if you remember, you probably are closer to my age, but do you remember the David Letterman interview that he did?
Yes, the Karate Kick.
When it aired.
I think I remember seeing that when it aired, but it's been so long ago, and it was late. I was tired. Yes?
Do you have like some guiding principles of objectivity so that your own unspoken subjectivity doesn't influence you?
It's not about me. That's what it comes down to for me. I mean, even if you care what I think, you don't care what I think. You shouldn't care what I think. You shouldn't know what I think. Just because I have access to a radio station does not mean I have the right to give you my opinion. Now, conversely, there's a lot of things that I'll report on that I don't care about whatsoever. I'll go to press conferences, and it is a fight to keep my eyes open. I'll be honest. There's things I just don't care about, and I'm not going to tell you what they are. Because you don't care that I don't care. And I force myself to pay attention because you may care about this meeting. I may not, but it's not about me. Does that answer your?
Well, I'm just wondering if you ever have that dilemma of, should I tell this other side here? Am I, yeah.
Oh yeah, you tell the other side. You got to be fair. You have to be fair. Because otherwise, if you're not telling both sides, you're not fair, and you're not giving, well, let me put it like this. No, apparently I won't put it like that. If I truly believe A is correct, and I can't tell you that A is correct because you don't care that I care, if I don't put A through the ringer and prove that A is correct and disprove B, then how do you know A is correct? So I've got to look at B, C, and D and give those viewpoints too and assume if I'm right, that A is correct, A is truth, ultimate truth, you're going to see it too. That any closer?
We're getting close.
Okay. All right, hone your question down a little bit more. And I'll get it this time.
So what's the guiding principle to know that you're giving adequate time to B and C?
I put myself in the position of someone who supports B and supports C. I think if I supported B, would this story be fair to me? If I supported C, would I feel like my voice had been heard? How's that?
Much better.
Thank you. Thank you. In the back there. That's you.
Yeah, so when you were playing songs, how did you make decisions there? It seems like when you play songs, you're making stylistic choices.
Oh, that's easy.
Songs that you liked, or did you play songs that you thought your audience liked? Or
That's an easy one.
songs to play, or
That's a very easy one. When I was in college radio, you got to play what you wanted. When I got into professional radio, when they paid me, they told me what I was going to play. They told me when I was going to play it. They told me how many times I was going to play it. And you've not lived until you've heard Michael Bolton 4 times in 3 hours. If you're a Michael Bolton fan, good. I'm happy for you. I'm not going to tell you how I feel about Michael Bolton. Yes.
So I think you said that you worked for WLW, which is, I think, probably a totally different culture than NPR. So now you're at NPR. Do you feel like this is your home, this is where you belong, this is what you want to be doing as opposed to all the other kind of, I'm going to say, commercial?
Yes. Next question. It is a very different culture. 700 WLW commercial station, hourly updates. You got to feed the beast. And they're always needing something. It may not be complete. It's going to be as complete as it can be. It may not be fair always because you haven't had a chance to get the other side. There may not be another side. It may be just, hey, there's a house fire. Flames are in the sky. I was going to talk to this woman, but she looks sad. I already did that once. I'm not going to do it again. The fire chief won't talk to me. That's my report. Here, right now, I've got a lot more time to work on a story. I had a story I did, let's see. Well, right now I'm working on one I started 2.5 years ago. Still not done with it. I should just put it in the can and either throw it away or get it on the air. But I'm not quite happy with it. There isn't an ending just yet. And so I'm sitting on it until I'm satisfied. There, crank it out. Crank it out. Completely different. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. I will say perhaps I enjoy one more than the other. Maybe I don't. I understand both points. I understand both. They're different, very different animals. And to be honest, there was a time I enjoyed that other animal. I enjoyed that adrenaline rush of getting the call at 3 o'clock in the morning. Then you start getting a little older, and the phone ringing at 3 o'clock in the morning is not quite so much fun anymore. Yes?
So you mentioned 2.5 years for this one story. Is there a typical time you are able to spend or you try to spend on a story now?
Yesterday, the story was, let's see, I started the interview at 10:30, wrapped it up a little after 11, had it all written by 4 o'clock, recorded by 4:30, and ready to go for this morning. And that's a 4-minute piece. That's the same length as the one that's taken 2.5 years. There's one from last year that took me 2-3 months to get because people wouldn't call me back. The state senator would not return my calls. And that's very frustrating because it was another great story and I was very proud of it and I was very excited to be telling the story. And to have someone not call you back so you can get their point of view makes you want to put your head against the wall several times, rapidly.
I appreciate this whole concept of, the notion of know going into it that it is going to be someone with a perspective that's so extremely different from yours, and maybe even could stir up some emotional. Do you have any techniques that you use or any approaches that you can
Whiskey.
share?
No, no. If it's that strong, you recuse yourself. You talk to your news director and say, hey, I can't do this. This is against everything I believe in. There's no way I can be fair because of whatever. I can't represent faithfully and honestly their point of view because I think they're blanks.
And related, there's got to be moments when you get home, and even though you were able to keep it on, keep it compartmentalized during the story, you get
Whiskey.
home.
Yeah, there have been stories that have rocked me. 9/11. That was a very powerful day. I'll tell you, I was in Sioux City, Iowa, working there that morning. Everyone's got a 9/11 story. Just like one generation had, where were you when Kennedy was shot? My 9/11 story, I was touring a tornado-damaged school with the Nebraska governor when the Red Cross representative's cell phone went off, and he said, my God, a plane just hit the World Trade Center. And we all thought, yeah. We all kind of pictured Cessnas. A Cessna, one plane, one little plane. It's like, so what's the big deal? But we went outside. The local TV station had a portable TV in their truck. We turned it on just in time to see the second plane hit the tower. And I didn't realize that was live. I thought, oh, they certainly got that graphic up pretty quickly. Oh my God. But luckily, and I say luckily loosely from a news gathering perspective, I was with the Nebraska governor, was able to get his initial reaction, his comments, right then and there instead of having to wait for him to hold a press conference later in the day. Granted, no one outside of that area cared what the Nebraska governor thought about 9/11. But for my audience, it was great.
What's the biggest change in the Cincinnati market you've seen since you've been here reporting on it?
The biggest change in the Cincinnati market. Probably the rise of technology, the embrace of the internet, and the fallout from that. Most news organizations now, pretty much every news organization now, has multimedia journalists. You are taking pictures, you're gathering sound, you are writing basically a newspaper story for the web, you may be shooting video, and you are expected to do all of that. When 10 years ago, you might have 2 or 3 people doing all that work. Now you have one. So there is more for a reporter to do, and they're getting less support to do it. Curse you, technology. You're supposed to make things easier. Yes?
So I also second, I like your approach, unbiased, fact-based reporting. So,
I have no opinion on that.
so I'm very curious because I would wonder, I think of myself, I'm very utilitarian, so I can relate, what's the most effective way to get to the truth. But I could see how it might be limiting in a creative capacity. But I'm also interested in this idea that constraints really force innovation and make you think of, oh, well, how can I be creative in other ways than if I can't have my own opinion on stuff? So I'm kind of curious from your perspective if there's any ways that happens.
I don't know. What do you think? Yes, constraints force creativity. I realized that in grade school, I think it was. They said, here are the rules for this project. And I thought, okay, let's find ways to think outside of that box. And so I'd always have a little more fun than everyone else putting school projects together. And I've already forgotten your question. How does thinking creatively, please,
How does your unbiased approach to information and how I know you said you're a conduit, you pass it along, but I guess your approaches and your methodologies to what you do with your time, how are you able to get creativity into it in probably ways that a normal person wouldn't.
Writing, there is certain formulas that I have relied on for years. You know, subject, verb, object. That's basically it. That's boiling down the formula for writing a news story. Here's the problem. Here's the soundbite. Here's the possible solution and the timetable. Boom, 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 formula. And so to keep it interesting for me, I've got to try and mix up that formula every now and then. And that's one thing that is nice about my current job. Previously, having those hourly updates didn't give me time to be creative. I just had to crank things out, feed the beast, meat grinder. Now I've got a lot more time to think about. And the downside of that is sometimes it's good to not have too much time to think. Sometimes just let it flow. You've got to get it done, that deadline. I don't know how many people work better under a deadline, but I certainly do.
Where's the furthest you've traveled for a story?
New Orleans, Katrina, post-Katrina. That was, 2005? I was actually on vacation. My wife at the time and I had driven back to Iowa and Nebraska. And we had just gotten to our sister's house when my cell phone rings. And they said, "We know you're on vacation, but do you want to go to New Orleans?" I said, "Yes." "Oh, sorry, honey." Spent 5 or 6 days, mostly in Baton Rouge. And we were, all the radio stations in the New Orleans area banded together just to get information out. They relocated to Baton Rouge and were broadcasting out of there. And then the big radio companies, including Clear Channel, would send teams of reporters from other markets just to give those poor Louisiana reporters a break. Because some of them, when we got down there, it was a week and a half after Katrina was done. Some of them hadn't been home yet to see if they still had a home. Running out of time? One more? In the back.
So you obviously rely on people having strong opinions about something so that you can objectively report on it. So I guess my question is, how would you, what advice would you give to just people in general to be better, more open listeners? Or is that only the job of a reporter? Are you the only one who has to keep everything, all of your opinions inside?
To answer that question, I would have to have an opinion. But let me play devil's advocate. What you do with the information you get is up to you. You can take it and you can put it through the filter of what you previously believe, or you can challenge yourself, but it's all up to you. Anybody here Doctor Who fans? Yes? The fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, one of the best, he had this quotation along the lines of, "The very powerful and the very stupid share something in common. They alter facts to fit their perception of reality." And I could agree with that if I had an opinion about the very powerful and the very stupid, but I don't. But to play devil's advocate, it's up to you. I'm not even going to tell you that you should think in a certain way. I'm not even going to tell you you should question what you hear. I'm not going to tell you to put your filters down and see things from other people's point of view. That's up to you. If you want to do it, I'm not even going to say great. I'm just going to say okay. You will get the kind of democracy, you will get the kind of world that you deserve. It's not up to me. I'm not going to tell you what you want. I'm not going to tell you what you deserve. That's up to you. I want to thank BHDP for hosting us today. I want to thank the Creative Mornings Cincinnati team as well. I'm honored and still confused. And thank you all very much. Tune in this afternoon to 91.7 WBSC.